Hi there, sports fans. This is Playitright TV, and I'm Kinito Henson.
Hi, this is Diane Castillo, and with us on this episode, the winning coach of the Southeast Asian Games basketball squad, Gilas, Chot Reyes. Wow, I can't wait to have this conversation with you. First of all, super congratulations.
Thank you, Diane. Thanks for having me back here. Thank you, Kinito.
Well, congratulations, Coach Chot. And, you know, this road to the gold in Cambodia must have been the rockiest road you ever traversed. Come on, 28-man pool that you started with na hindi nga included yung mga players na nasa Japan. So, limitado na. Tapos, hindi nakalaro si Japet, si JMF, wala si Scotty, wala si Jamie, wala si Mikey Williams. How were you able to manage to get these guys together? You had to call in Jerome Lastimosa to make sure that he attended your practice. Coach.
Well, that's the reason for the expanded pool in the first place. I think just from my experience coaching so many national teams, I already know that a lot of things can happen. And you cannot have too many players on the pool. I know when we release the pool, I'm sure some people say, dami-dami naman yan. Bakit naman OA? Sobrang daming players. But alam ko na yan eh. You really can't avoid it. There's going to be personal issues, family commitments. There's going to be injuries because the PBA is still ongoing. So you know that's the reason why we had that expanded pool. And buti na lang, because if we hadn't been able to put the names of Jerome, the Phillips brothers, even our kuyas like Chris Ross and Marshall Lassiter, then it would be a very, very difficult proposition for us.
Coach, they say that the sweetest victories come after the hardest battles, right? In all your years of coaching, would you consider this one of the hardest battles and the sweetest victory?
Yeah, one of the hardest and one of the sweetest, but we've gone through even more difficult challenges in the past, but this is just different because of the pressure of the expectation in Southeast Asia. Everyone says, we should always win Southeast Asia gold medal, right? And I agree, except it's no longer a Southeast Asian competition now. It's the eligibility rules have evolved in such a way that you're no longer competing against Southeast Asians exclusively, and not only in basketball. We've seen it in other sports as well, in the SEA Games competition. So that's what made this particular tournament more difficult, because the combination of the difficulty that we had, the weight of the expectations, and then the playing conditions. So it was the perfect storm. It was really the perfect
storm.
Coach Chot, you knew about the passports-only eligibility rule, the policy of the Southeast Asian Games Federation in this particular Southeast Asian Games since last year. But did the thought of naturalizing more than one ever cross your mind? And were you expecting teams like Cambodia to come up with as many as 5 naturalized players?
We knew that there was a passport-only rule late last year, but it was not clear to us that by passport only, we thought passport only, but you still had to have blood. We didn't know that there was no blood or lineage requirement, that it was really just passport. So we found that out pretty late in the game already. Nobody could give us a straight answer. It was just really passport, no blood or lineage requirement, and so on and so forth. So that was one obstacle. But even if we had known that it was just passport, I don't think, for me personally, I wouldn't have wanted to go there with more than one naturalized player, and I'm sure neither would the SBP. We had a discussion: are we going to go out and look for other natural? But what for, right? So I said let's go with what we have with our naturalized player Justin Brownlee. We were considering also Ange Kwame, but Ange Kwame was injured. But really, we said we don't want to go with more than one naturalized player. Having our other Filipinos who are not who are ineligible per FIBA requirements, that's a different story because they really have Filipino heritage, really have Filipino blood. We had no problems with that. So yun lang, we didn't want to go the route of naturalizing just to win the Southeast Asian Games gold medal. I wouldn't think that would be the right thing to do.
Yeah. So, Coach, that was one crazy thing, I think, which I think merits a more serious discussion with among the basketball heads. But the conditions in Cambodia, I remember having a conversation with you before you guys left, and I said, Coach, parang I heard there's no aircon in the venue. Did you check? And then he's no, not sure. But apparently, I guess with all the images that we saw, like, can you describe what really like the conditions it was like? The playing court, the practice court, even the lack of time, and what was it like during the actual game?
We kept asking the organizers. We kept asking, "Is there aircon? Is there aircon? Is there aircon?" Yes. They kept assuring us, yes. Until team manager Butch Antonio flew there earlier to be with the 3x3 team, and he said, "Yes, there is aircon, but it's not enough. It's just individual aircon units. Alam mo yung standalone na ganon." They scattered it over the stadium, which was a very, very big stadium with open ventilation on the sides. So the aircon didn't do wasn't any help. So that was the only time we knew when he called us to say it is very, very hot, because when the game started already. Now, they still couldn't know what the playing surface is because it was covered by the 3x3 playing surface. And the 3x3 playing surface is different. It's like a Taraflex rubberized kind of surface. So it's very different. So everybody, there was a guessing game what's underneath that. We only knew when we were there already for our first practice, and they gave us a practice slot of 45 minutes. Every team was given just 45 minutes.
Every day, 45 lang.
No, one day only, the day before the first game. Only one practice slot for 45 minutes. That's the only time we saw the floor. And we could see it was uneven, and dami pang tiklup dyan. And it was, wow. I said, are you serious? We're going to play here. You can't even walk in it without slipping. So
what?
So sabi ko, this is impossible. And without aircon, then just a little bit of perspiration, that's going to be very, very slippery. So that's the only time we knew about them. And we already raised a big howl there, and we said, are we really going to play? We were really saying we shouldn't even play here if they're not able to fix this. So but that was already a big issue.
Yeah, but the Cambodia team, I guess, did they give them more practice time? And I guess they had been practicing in that court?
Yeah, in the first place, the main players of Cambodia were the players who also played in the 3x3. So they're very used already to the heat, to playing under those conditions. Those three players, the 3x3 team of Cambodia had 4 players. That's the rules of 3x3. You have a 4-man lineup. The 4th player was a local. He never played. The 3 Americans played the whole 3x3 tournament exclusively. Silang tatlo lang. So, wow, sabi ko, their conditioning, their level of fitness is so high because that's no joke, playing 2-3 games a day in the 3x3 all the way to the championship. They won the gold without substitution. Sabi ko, so sanay na sila. They were already very used to the condition there and playing in that heat talaga. And, that's their advantage. That's home court advantage, right?
Yeah.
Wala tayong magagawa doon. Home court advantage yun. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it was really unsafe. It's substandard. And it was, my biggest issue was the safety of the players. Diba? So, sure enough, Calvin Oftana slipped in the first half, strained the muscle because there was a slick spot. How to nabagok yung ulo ni Brandon Rosser. How many times did Justin Brownlee hit the floor hard? There were injuries to the Vietnamese player, men, women, Cambodian female, our own player, injury in our women's team. So there were so many injuries because it's really a surface that should not be played on for this type of competition.
Coach Chot, let's talk about the first Cambodia game. Biggest lead of Cambodia, 21 points. They hit 12 three-point shots. We hit 5. The difference, 21 points. The biggest lead, yung 21 points. No, but in the second game, when we played them for the gold medal, they shot from 12 three-pointers, they shot 5 na lang.
5 or 4, yeah.
5. They hit 5. And in the first game, they shot 36 three-pointers. In the second game, they shot only 19. Now, question is, did you influence them? Did you take away the three-point shooting the second game? And did you want them to come closer to the basket where you can defend them more? Or was it by choice that they went stronger to the hole and not took so many three-point shots in the second game?
I will preface my answer by saying, going into the tournament, we already agreed as a coaching staff that we are going to play the elimination round differently from the playoffs. We already decided that. That was already a strategic imperative, if you want to call it that way. That we knew we could win 2 games. All we needed to get was to 2 games, to get to 2 victories, and we will be in the playoffs, in the semifinals. And we knew that the knockout semifinal was the must-win game. So I said, let's go to the playoffs without showing all of our cards. And that's where the adjustment came in. So we defended them in the championship game differently than we defended them in the elimination round game. So because of the kind of attention that we put on their three-point shooters, and they were not getting the looks that they got in the elimination round, they were forced to go inside even more. That's why they went to their big man, and he top scored si Peterson, right?
Yes.
But we felt that he would not beat us. That as long as we make him work for his 2-point shots, he's going to wear out. He will not beat us. But then, like you saw, the 3-point shooting, not only of Dorsey and Pridget, but even the other guy, number 15, and also Lopez, they were the other players, and they scored pretty well in the elimination round game. But then that was part of the adjustment. So we didn't want to show all of our cards in the elimination round, and I think you saw that as well in the Indonesia game. So the kind of defense we played against Indonesia was not the defense we played in the elimination round.
Just to follow up, Coach Chot, no, on that championship game, 5:04 to go in the game, CJ Perez fouled out. He had just hit a long 3-point shot to stop the 8-0 run of Cambodia to start the 4th period. Did you get worried?
Yeah, I was. I must admit a little bit, but not really, because I still had Chris Ross on the bench, and you saw how well Chris Ross played in the Indonesia game, right? When CJ fouled out, we had a nice lead. We still had. They were making a big run, but we had like an 8-point lead going to the last 5 minutes. So we had to. All we needed to do was to play great defense, even if we don't score as much, as long as we defend, and that's the Chris Ross specialty, right? So. I knew we would miss the firepower of CJ, but we knew we had the defensive prowess of Chris Ross to replace him. And I think, sure enough, parang in the last 4 minutes, they didn't score anymore except for the last 3-point shot that Bridget hit, right? So, so we, again, we were honest enough to recognize as a coaching staff that we will not win this tournament with our offense and our scoring, because our best 3-point shooters are not here, diba? Our best offensive players are not here. If we were going to win this, we knew that we were going to win this on the defensive end. So when CJ Perez fouled out, and even when he had 4 fouls, we kept him in there because we knew that if he did foul out, we still had Chris Ross coming in, who was an excellent defender.
So, Chot, I wanted to go back to the semifinals, the Indonesia game, right? The must-win, where you were down mostly the entire game. But of course, Justin Brownlee had already, picked up his game from the previous one. Were you worried at that point? Or kita mo na, kasi parang ako when I was watching, hindi, kaya, but it was well, close till the end. So, were you confident that you would come through and be able to pick it up in the end and win the must game against Indonesia?
I think I wasn't worried, not because I was confident. I wasn't worried because I knew Indonesia was a real legit team. I knew it was going to be a tough game. I had no disillusions that we were going to blow them out or that this was going to be a cakewalk for us, because I followed their team all throughout it. They've been through a long training camp. They've been competing in Australia, played a lot of Australian NBL teams. So I knew they were a legitimate team. They didn't have Bolden and Savero and Grahita, but they were a team. They know each other. Their system is very fluid. They didn't have Grahita, but they had Anthony Bean, who was a hell of an offensive machine, really great scorer. And we all know Lester Prosper, right? He may not be Marcus Bolden. Bolden is a great inside presence, but as we saw in the game, Prosper hit 5 3-point shots, right? So we knew that this was going to be a huge challenge for us. So even when they were leading, we kept telling the guys in the huddle that we know this. It's not going to be easy. Even in the dugout when we were down 11 points at halftime, we told the players, don't be discouraged, because we know this is not going to be easy. So let's focus. Let's make 3 more stops in this third quarter, get this lead down to single digits going into the fourth. So we were just very focused on what was in front of us. And I think we've been coaching long enough that we know not to panic in moments like these in ball games.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of people here after Indonesia game. Oh, we should consider that napanalo tayo ng gold kasi yung Cambodia, hindi naman Cambodia yan eh. So, nakabawi na tayo sa Indonesia. Sa atin.
But just talking about Indonesia again, Coach Chot, Lester Prosper, 10 out of 11 from the field in that contest. And he really wanted to prove himself. But, there's a drawback to that when you're trying to do it all by yourself. And Coach Chot, towards the end, I think you had a 24-11. Or no, was that the fourth quarter? I think that was the fourth quarter score of the final. Of the final game. But against Indonesia, you also had a big surge in the fourth period. But again, not because of offense, but because of defense.
Yes. I thought that the defense that Chris Ross played on Bean and the defense that Jerome Lastimosa and Chris Newsom played on their point guard on Prastawa, who's really, for me, the heart and soul of the Indonesian team is the point guard. It was Prastawa, number 7. So we really intentionally focused on him to shut him down. That guy was shooting 71% from 3-point range. 71, can you imagine? So we really were focused on him. And obviously, this, Kenito and Dayan, when you focus on something, you have to give up something, right? And that something that we were giving up was the 3-point shooting of Prosper. So we just had to be calm and not panic when Prosper was hitting all those threes, because the game plan really was to stop their guards, Prastawa and Bean, because those are the guys that make them win really. And their other forward who did a lot of damage to us last year was Lauren, the guy who plays the 4 spot for them. So I said, as long as we keep we defend those guys, then that was going to be the key. So in the end, that's what happened. Prosper was scoring well at the start, but when it was crunch time, they couldn't go to their go-to guys because we had shut them down. And That's exactly what happened in that game. That's why in the fourth quarter, they wanted to go to Bean. They couldn't get anything from Bean. They couldn't get anything from Pastawa. Then our adjustments came, and then when they started going to Prosper, suddenly now we were double teaming him, which we weren't doing in the first half, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just those little adjustments during the game, which we had planned for, I thought were very important.
Coach Chot, you mentioned Chris Newsome. How important a role did he play, especially filling in at point guard throughout this tournament? And do you see that kind of role for him looking forward to the World Cup?
Yeah, the good thing with our guards, with Chris, even with Scotty, right? They're big guards. I mean, not as big as the European guards, but big for the Filipino standards. So it allows us to be more flexible defensively. It allows our switching defense to be more effective. And that's what we're looking at from those guys, that they have to be able to play that role defensively from the point guard spot. But we shouldn't sacrifice our quickness. And that's the reason why we had to have a Jerome Lastimosa, because I really think in our team we still should have that one kiti-kiti, di ba? For lack of a better term, that one kiti-kiti point guard na, the Jason Castro. We need to have a Jason Castro, Jimmy Alapag type still. Even if we have the big guards, I think our belief is that we still need one player in that mold. And I thought Jerome Lastimosa played a very big role here in the Southeast Asian Games campaign. But for the World Cup, that's what we're looking at from Chris Newsome.
Chot, I wanted to ask, because the videos, the images we saw of Justin Brownlee and Chris Newsome even the day before the Cambodia game, I mean, they were really suffering. I mean, I just want to know how, kasi walang rest nga, diba? It was like back to back to back, and then with all these conditions. What did you have to do behind the scenes to get Brownlee and Newsome, I mean, recovered, like, for the final? Like, I know that you were putting ice and all that, but what else did you guys do?
I think it was the cumulative effect of everything we were doing from the start. It was not one thing the day before, but it was the cumulative effect of our attention to be very intentional in the recovery and hydration. We were even doing a lot of pool recovery work, aqua recovery. There was a pool in our hotel which we took advantage of. We made use of it because we're big believers in that. We do a lot of breathing as a team, a lot of breath work as well, and our hydration is 24 hours. Our team doctor, Dr. Randy Molo, he messages every day, 2-3 times a day. Okay, don't forget. He prescribes their regimen of hydration. Check your urine. Check the color of your urine. So it's really to that ganun ka detailed talaga. So I think it was the cumulative effect of that, plus their acclimatizing already. Their body was already slowly getting acclimatized. But you're right. If you had seen Newsome after the game, I mean, I've never seen anything like that when he couldn't even get to the locker room. He was just seated on the stool outside. He couldn't even sit. Then he finally laid down on the floor. Yeah, he was cramping. Just same thing with Justin. That's why I'm sure you saw the video of him going by the back window, leaving the locker room. It was because he had no more strength to face the fans who were waiting outside, because he couldn't even stand up, just trying to walk. He was cramping already his whole body. So he really couldn't go through and take pictures or autographs anymore, because wala na talaga eh. So he went through the back door to get
and the finals was like 24, just exactly 24, less than 24 hours, right?
Yes. They had the 24-hour break. We did not, because of the quirk of the schedule. But, all throughout, we were in a locker room that had no air condition. and the wall in the back had holes. So the people outside, the public could listen, and they were yelling while we were doing
Are
our
you
pregame and our
serious?
halftime. Yes!
Oh my
Walang
God.
biro, gano'n talaga. So nagpi-pregame ako, buong tao na rin, nakikinig na rin lahat. Sabi ko, ano klase to? Until we find out, when we played Singapore, that there is an air-conditioned dugout. So
And who was
we
using
found
it?
out, finally, so it really helped a lot. No, not when we played Singapore, when we played, the semifinals when we played Indonesia. It really helped a lot because now, instead of sitting in a very, very hot locker room before the game, they were sitting in an air-conditioned locker room. And then at halftime, instead of being in a hot locker room with a wall in the back with holes, this one was, at least it was covered, but it was glass. We could still be seen from the outside. But it was air-conditioned. It was very important, I thought. The funny thing is, so we won the semi-final match against Indonesia. Now we're in the finals. So I said, I'm sure naman, because it's just 2 teams in the finals, they'll get the other air-conditioned dugout, and I'm sure we'll get the other air-conditioned dugout. There's only 2 teams left in the finals. Sure enough, wow. So we got there, wow, air-conditioned. Pero walang silya. How can you have a locker room without
Tinanggal
chair?
ang silya?
Walang silya at all in our dugout.
Kaya pala you were sitting on the floor.
Yeah. There was no, we couldn't even tape walang magawa talaga. So Jong and Tim, literally, team manager Butch Antonio, Josh, the coach, the assistant coaches, they went out and look for stools, chairs, whatever they can find to bring to the locker room. Ang higpit ng security because the Prime Minister was going to watch the game. So there were a lot of restricted areas where you can then pass. But yung coaches natin, walang pakialam, pasok sila doon because they were getting chairs. So later on, when we finally got enough chairs in our dugout, pagtingin namin, there was like a whole battalion of soldiers in our locker room outside. Kasi galit na sila sa amin, nakala ko huhulihin na nila kami. Kasi our coaches went the different places where people were trying to prevent them from not going, but they went to those places. Otherwise, hindi kami makakaupo in our pre-game in the huddle. So it was really very difficult. Can you imagine that being here, di ba?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Party natin dito mag-host, ang ganda ng venue, ang ganda ng facilities, di ba? And all that. But it was really difficult. It was really a real challenge.
Just reviewing the performance of our players, Coach Chot, no? And just looking at the numbers, some names pop out as having done impressively. Brandon Ganuelas-Rosser, he was your second leading scorer after Justin Brownlee with 51 total points. Michael Phillips, 9 points, 15 rebounds in his first game as a national player. And then CJ Perez, Marshall Lassiter hitting some big-time shots in every game where he needed to step up. So many guys delivered. How proud are you that all these guys came to the fore, raised up the flag, and just refused to lose?
Immensely proud. We asked the players, I do this for a living. I'm a team building facilitator. I'm a team development specialist. So one of our activities, one of our team development exercises, I asked the players, what does Puso mean to you? What is Puso all about when we talk about Puso? And each player gave his own version. And so I said, okay, nice. These are all your own individual stories. So let's now weave it together to write our own story. And I think the beauty of that was it allowed each player to know each other on a personal level, and as well as as me as for us as the coaching staff. But I think more importantly, we made them think about the really important matters, like, who are you playing for? Why are you doing this? And si Marcio, for him, he really said, for me, I'm doing this so that it's something that so that I can be a great role model for my children. Especially his oldest is starting to play. He's like 14 years old na now. Nakakatawa nga. Sabi ni Marcio, my oldest is closer to age to Mason Amos than I am with Mason. that's the age disparity. 14 is Mason, 18 lang eh, sabi niya. So maybe you can hang out soon, sabi ni Marcio sa kanya. So our players, they had different reasons, they had different interpretations, but different personalities, but only one heart and one heartbeat. And I think you saw it in the way they played. With Marcio, yeah, we're all talking about his three-point shooting, but he played some terrific defense.
Yeah.
He played tremendous, especially that last game, di ba? Si Lopez of Cambodia, he did not allow Lopez to score. Lopez did not get anything from Marcio, and even the man that he was guarding in Indonesia, di rin niya pinascore. So it's really a product of having players who were really doing it for the right reasons and for a higher purpose. And like I said, we asked them what Puso means for you, what Puso is all about, and so they all gave their different stories, very touching stories. You wouldn't, one of our players is doing it because he's been estranged with a close family relative. One player is doing it because he no longer has a father, and he knows that his mother is Filipina, is very, very proud every time he wears the jersey. So these are the stories that came out, right? So I said, these are your individual stories. Now let's weave it into one story, our Gilas story. So yun talaga yung doon. I think the players really came and played for the right reason. That's why you saw that kind of. And I hope you noticed the camaraderie and the bond, di ba?
Yeah.
They were really very, very tightly knit. And I said from day one, if we're gonna win this, we have to be the best team, because we didn't have the luxury of time that the others team have being together. So I said, so we had to shortcut the process. So I thought the Inspire Camp was able to do that. We were able, just by living together for, it was just 4.5, 5 days. Mm-hmm. I thought it was able to do a lot of things for the team development.
Yeah. Chot, I wanted to ask you, I know we're a bit over time, but I really, those are beautiful stories that you shared. But the other thing I think also that is, also very inspiring is how you guys came back against all odds, right? And aside from physically having to rebound, mentally, emotionally, spirit-wise, I'm sure after you lost the Cambodia game, you guys must have, read and just like got, all kinds of reaction. And that must have been, I can't imagine, like, I was like, of course, me, I was like, I was feeling bad already. I could imagine all of you guys. How did you process that? How did you get yourselves together in such a short time and just, find the will to turn it around, not get bothered by all kinds of comments or bashing that was going on?
First of all, on my part, I was basically immune to it because I was completely logged off during that time. So everything that others are saying, I was getting just secondhand information. But I knew, I could imagine.
Yeah.
But among ourselves in the team, the very first words I uttered when I entered the dugout after the Cambodia loss was, and this is verbatim, I said, this was the loss we could afford. I said, this was the loss we could afford. I said, our mission here is to win the gold medal, not to sweep. Of course, it would have been nice if we had swept and won the gold medal at the same time. But our mission is to win the gold medal. And don't forget that. Keep your eyes on the big picture. Yeah, we lost, but we still have we still are in the running for the gold. And I think everyone quickly rallied behind it. I have to thank the opposing coach. I think he did a lot of motivating for me because of all his antics in that game and the gestures.
Yes.
He really motivated the players. He really motivated our players. They were very motivated to be able to pay back. So So it was very palpable in the dugout after that they said, oh, we will meet this team again. We will meet this team again. And so that's for us, just being very focused on the mission, just being mission focused there. And that's really my philosophy in building teams, right? They have to be purpose driven and mission focused. So we just kept on that. We just kept staying true to that, no matter what. I know how bad it became, because my wife Cherry actually told me, I mean, is this really worth it? She was really on the verge of just giving up, and said, I myself had thought, even after this, whatever happens, maybe it's time to really, think about, do we really still want to do this? So it got so bad, but it was kind of expected in that sense, that if we lose, people are really going to say a lot of things, and we can't avoid that. That's really the nature of the job, right? The nature of the beast. We would hope people would be kinder. We would hope people would be more understanding. But the reality is, there are haters who are just there to hate and to bash, right? Even if we do, I'm sure even after we won, they're still saying a lot of negative things. So, that's their
Great
problem.
comeback. I love this story.
Yeah, really. What a wonderful story. But Coach Chot,
Yeah.
moving on. How big a pull are you thinking of bringing to the overseas training, looking forward to the World Cup? And is it true that you guys are going to Lithuania, maybe play a pocket tournament involving Estonia? How many guys are you thinking of bringing over to include the Japanese B-League players?
I don't want to preempt the staff, because we have to get together and meet about it first. But offhand, maybe 16, 18 people, 18 players. I think that would be a nice number. But again, I don't want to preempt the coaching staff, because we had all agreed that the first order of business was to rest and recover, keep our minds off basketball for a while. Although, while we were there in Cambodia, I was also hard at work preparing and fixing details for the trip. So right now, it appears like we're going to go to Estonia first, to play Estonia and Finland in Tallinn, and then go to Lithuania after that, and play another. I'm looking at another 4 games. Hopefully, we can play Lithuania, Latvia, a couple more very strong European teams, and we're really looking forward to getting our ass kicked. I mean, we need that. We need to get our ass whipped. Because that's what happened to us. If you remember in 2014, remember, Kinito, we went to France, we went to Valencia in Spain, and we just kept getting our ass beat left and right. But it really toughened us, so that when the World Cup came, we were playing at a very high level. So that's really, sa Tagalog, kailangan magpabugbog. I don't know about the US. I don't know about the US, because we can't play anyone. The college teams cannot play the national teams. I think there's only one college that got a special exemption, but I don't want to play one college 4 times or 5 times, right? So I want to be able to go to a place where we can play quality teams, not pick-up selections, not not all-star teams, but really teams, because that's where we will get the greatest benefit.
Now, what about hooking up with Jordan Clarkson? That'll have to be done in the States.
Yeah, that's in the works now. We're trying to figure out the logistics and the details of that. Again, team manager Butch Antonio is hard at work on that, and several other things. So we're just right now moving on to the next thing, to finally getting all our energies towards the World Cup with no other distraction. So at least now it's just the World Cup that's going to be on our minds.
But when is the start of practice for the World Cup?
June 1.
When do you leave?
June 1st. June 1st. Here first in Manila. We want to practice for a couple of weeks, get in shape, get some sort of system going before we go and play elsewhere. So we want to make sure that we are in game shape already and a little bit competitive before flying off to Europe.
So by that time, meron ng pool. 16 to 18 men will have been named by that time.
That's what we're looking at. And we've been assured naman when we were talking to the players from the past that they know that June 1 is
every day na yon. Hugbog na every day.
We will be practicing as a team already, really going through practice. And again, it's going to be difficult. There are going to be players, that's going to be the first question we will ask. Are you willing to be in the pool, go through all of this training and hard work with no assurance of making the final 12? So those who answer yes, then come on over. You're most welcome. But I hope if they're very honest, if it's not sure that they're going to make the final 12, we will completely understand, because it's no joke what we're going to ask. And we cannot make a decision of making 12 right away now or 15 right away, because, like, again, so many things, the World Cup is still so far away. So many things can happen, right? There's injuries or personal circumstance or whatever. So I think to have 12, to pick and decide on a 12-man lineup right now, I don't think is the best course of action.
Nice. Okay. Well, congratulations again, Coach. You have a good rest. As a final question for me, how does Coach Chot Reyes celebrate, unwind, and recharge?
Well, with my apos, with my grandkids, that's my first. I would have wanted to go out and play golf, but we're leaving for Hong Kong tomorrow with the Talk and Text team. And that's where I'll be able to chill, kick back, and just enjoy the food, the company of the players, with no agenda, nothing on my mind except to be able to recharge. I'm a big advocate, and I give a lot of talks and workshops to my corporate clients about recovery. So I have to follow my own advice. We need to be able to recover after intense projects or intense competitions like we just came through. For us to be able to get back, we need to be very disciplined in our recovery. So I'll take the next 4 or 5 days off in Hong Kong, and just be back in the middle of next week to give myself 1 week to prepare ourselves for the resumption of practice on June 1.
Well, big congratulations
well, thank
again,
you, Coach.
That was redemption. That was revenge. But more than that, you've made everyone in the Philippines happy and proud.
Thank you.
That,
thank you very much.
Super congratulations, Coach Chot Reyes. Salute.
Super proud. Mabuhay. Puso.
Thank you very much for joining us on Playitright TV. Thank you. All right. That was it. Coach Chot Reyes. Job well done. Mission accomplished. It was tough, but he did it. He got it done. And no matter what the bashers say, the result is we got the gold back, and that was the mission. And, mission accomplished.
Yeah, well, let's hope again that they regroup, get stronger. It's going to be a different scenario with a bigger pool. There are going to be more players. But it was so inspiring, like, how they won, rather than just sweep through the SEA Games and win back that gold. It was parang talagang dumaan sa butas ng karayom against all odds, and all those stories, like, wow, incredible. It makes the victory even sweeter and something that we can all cherish and be proud of. So let's hope, Kinito, that we can pull off some more surprises and big wins at the World Cup. It's going to be a much higher level, but we hope for the best and keep the faith.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for following us on Playitright TV. Hope you enjoyed this special episode with Coach Chot Reyes. Until next time, this is Kinito Hanson.
Diane Castillo, thank you for watching. God bless.
Playitright.
Congratulations.